Well, hello there, and welcome to the video. I've just got done watching Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 9, entitled Vox. This is going to be an interesting review, and I'm going to try very hard to split the difference here. I'm having to separate my love of what I've seen and the story. I'll give you a breakdown of the episode. This review is going to contain spoilers. So spoiler alert, I'm going to be spoiling this episode and the things that appeared in this episode, things that I noticed. And if you've noticed anything that I missed, feel free to put that down in the comment section. This may be a long video. It may not be. It certainly won't be the longest I've done in the last week. I did a live stream with a guy called Clayton Rumley. He's an author and one of my subscribers. Please check out his channel and please check out that live stream. I'll stick a card up there. It's a very long stream, but we had a great conversation regarding Star Trek, where it was, where it's been, where it's going. So feel free to check that out, and do check out Clayton's channel and hit that subscribe button. This episode, we get an explanation as to what's been happening throughout the season. So why the changelings are doing what they're doing, what's behind the big red door, what Jack is, who Jack is. The explanation is both mildly impressive and somewhat convoluted at the same time. It's an interesting reveal, and it's an interesting approach. What they've essentially done is melded the two biggest threats of the next generation in Deep Space Nine and turned them into allies to one another. So you have the shapeshifters working with 3, 2, 1, the Borg. Okay, so the Borg are back. The Borg Queen is back, and I believe I'm very familiar with the Borg Queen's voice. It is Alice Cridge again. So the Borg Queen is back. A Borg cube is what's behind the big red door. And through a series of scenes, we get the explanation that Picard never had Irumodic syndrome. He's basically like, I never had Irumodic syndrome. Oh my God. I'm going to take legal action. Misdiagnosis. He's never had Irumodic syndrome. It's not Irumodic syndrome. Basically what it was is the Borg did something to his genetic code when he was assimilated. So not all of the Borg technology was removed. Some biotechnology that was masquerading or giving the same symptoms as Irumodic syndrome was left behind in Picard. The reason Vadik wanted Picard's biological remains was to take the weaponized part of Picard's brain. There's part of Picard's brain that will enable a connection to form. Biological connection, kind of like a biological version of the technological connection the Borg have. Jack inherited those genes. They stayed dormant until I think the age of 25. Jack was starting to have these hallucinations about the red door and what's behind the mystery box. He is essentially a new Locutus, okay? Picard reveals this to him. It's my responsibility. I must reveal it to Jack because as season 1 and season 2 has taught us, it is all my fault. I am to blame. So Picard goes and sees Jack, and he reveals the truth to Jack. Jack leaves the Titan. He takes control of people, and he leaves the Titan in a shuttlecraft to go and see the Borg Queen. Possibly the worst idea that he's ever had. I'm not going to lie, that was a pretty dumb thing to do. Yeah, well, I want answers. I want answers to why I'm doing all of this, because I don't know what is going on. But I can tell you now, I'm going to find out what's going on, because I'm going to go and see the Borg Queen. Picard tries and stops him, but he's taken control of the security force that's meant to guard him. He takes off in a shuttle. There's another layer to the changeling stroke Borg plan to take over Starfleet and destroy Starfleet from within. The changelings have infiltrated Starfleet to place a code in the Starfleet transporter system that replicates Picard's DNA. the biological Borg technology in Picard's DNA that they left behind, it replicates it and basically mixes it with the genetic code of anyone who uses the transport. There is a flaw, however. It's because it doesn't affect anyone over a certain age, which it occurs to me it doesn't affect Jack until the age of 25, but it does affect anyone else until the age of 25, but it can't take over anyone who's basically older. So it can't take over the next generation crew. So the whole of Starfleet, every single ship, and you have to ask the question, why would Starfleet want to make their ships into one massive collective? It's such a monumental weakness. And that question is kind of answered or implied, certainly, with the appearance of Shelby from The Best of Both Worlds. And she's Admiral Shelby now. I think she's basically spearheaded this entire thing. All of Starfleet, every Starfleet ship that's in operation is connected to one another like a Borg hive. And every single ship is assimilated. And all the people under the age of 25, so all the young cadets, young people, they are all assimilated. This happens because Jack goes to see the Borg Queen because he wants answers, and ends up learning that resistance is futile and gets assimilated. So he's sending a signal to this part that was biological Borg, and this signal goes out. All of the young people on all of the starships in Starfleet that just happen to be at Earth for the celebration of Starfleet, they all get assimilated and they take over the fleet, and the Excelsior gets destroyed. The next generation crew basically have to get off the ship, and it's revealed that shuttles aren't affected by this mass ship link that Starfleet have put in place. And it occurs to me as I'm telling you this is absolutely ridiculous. It's such a ridiculous series of absolute coincidences and contrivances to reach this point. Either that or I'm doing a piss poor job of explaining it. The entire Starfleet's taken over and they're going to attack Space Dock and then assimilate Earth. Now, during the firefight where they're getting into the shuttle, Shaw's in a firefight. He's telling people to get on the shuttle. It's pretty clear at this point he's not going to survive the episode. And he doesn't. Okay, Shaw dies. And he has a nice little moment with Seven of Nine before he dies, where he says, it's not my ship anymore. It's your ship, Seven of Nine. Commander Seven of Nine. You have the con. Which was a nice moment, within the story of season 3. It was nice for Shaw to, have this awesome entrance in the season. And I thought it was a really, he was a dick character, but at least he was, somewhat interesting. And he was our eyes and ears commenting on the previous seasons. I think he had a lousy last few episodes and he's gone. Anyway, the Next Generation crew, they get to the Fleet Museum and Geordi states that he's been keeping a little bit of a secret, and it's the Enterprise D. The space doors open and it's been rebuilt. Essentially, Geordi's been rebuilding it from bits of other starships and whatnot, and they recovered the saucer section from Viridian 3, and the Next Generation crew board it. They set a course back to Earth in the Enterprise D, and the episode closes. So that's the breakdown of the episode. The story side of this episode, I think, is far, far, far too convenient. Now, you could explain away the holes in this story quite easily. The shapeshifters at the end of the day have been working with the Borg. Why would Starfleet have every single starship there for this celebration of Frontier Day? You wouldn't pull all your defense forces into one area. It's just, you wouldn't do it. It's bad tactical decisions. If the Changelings had taken over several key positions in Starfleet, they could make it happen, but people would question it. People would question it. Isn't it a little risky having our entire fleet, all of them, around Earth? Isn't that just a little bit dangerous? Having every single starship defending the Federation in the same place. Also, isn't it just a little bit stupid to have them all interconnected so you could control the entire fleet from one place, from one source? And that makes a lot of sense. Why? Because Admiral Shelby is the one leading the Enterprise F, which, again, may have appeared in Star Trek Online, but I don't think that's a very nice looking ship, we have to say. I may got shot at dawn for saying that, but I don't think it's a particularly nice ship. She's leading the Enterprise F out, and she bites the bullet as well in the episode. And it was, I don't think it's a massively satisfactory reveal that all of these conveniences took place to get to where we are. The story, for me, is not great, okay? The writing isn't great. The story isn't great. Everyone in the episode did a fine job in terms of acting. There's a few good, decent scenes with Picard, and the guy who plays Jack Crusher he's doing a great job. I think there's a real future for that actor. But the story isn't great. It feels like their end goal was to have a Next Generation reunion, and they wrote a story to form that. They didn't write a story and then say, hey, you know what? This story is that good, it could be a Next Generation reunion. They decided they were going to have this reunion, and they wrote a story to fit it. And I don't think that's a particularly good idea. I don't think that really works in the story. Now, I'm going to get on now to all these reveals, okay? And again, this is the dopamine hit side of me that absolutely loved seeing the Enterprise D again. I absolutely loved it, and I did smile. I liked the explanation as to why Geordi had to get the remains of the Enterprise D off of Viridian 3. It's the Prime Directive. And I always thought this when I saw Generations. The minute that civilization becomes spacefaring, they're going to visit Viridian 3 and see this saucer section and think, oh crap, aliens are here. You know, it's going to happen. So you'd pull the saucer section off. And the fact that Geordi has been rebuilding it kind of in secret, I was okay with that. And we get a little inkling about what happened to the Enterprise. I think it was destroyed, because I quite like the Enterprise E. I thought it was sleek. It was really nice to see that ship again. It's really nice to see the set again. It's all lovingly recreated, and it was great to see the crew on the ship, and it really did touch my nostalgia fields. It got my nostalgia fields going. I was ever so slightly annoyed. I know that Geordi restored it to the way it was in the television series, but I quite liked the Generations refit if they just lightened it up a little bit. And this episode is dark, okay? It's dark in tone, and it's dark visually again. There's very little brightness, but when they're on the Enterprise D bridge, it's quite bright, okay? It's not as bright as we remember it, but it is very, very nice to see that ship again. I'm really thankful to have that entire sequence. I thought it was really good. But is the story strong enough to be able to get it there to be ultimately satisfying? I don't think so. I don't think the story's quite done it. Although, who knows? In the final episode, I might have my mind changed. Now, some of the things I was thinking throughout this episode was, at the beginning of the episode, I was simply impatient. I thought, you know what? You spent 8 episodes so far with this freaking door. Will you just open the fucking door? Open the door so we can see what's going on, to see if it's actually worth it. Jack's hearing Beverly's voice. It turns out it's not Beverly's voice, it's the Borg. Jack is essentially Locutus version 2. They explained that Picard never had Irumodic syndrome, and there was a nice explanation there with regards to Picard always being able to hear the voices of the collective. Because of this biological part of his brain that the Borg left behind, there's essentially a transceiver. He's able to hear the Borg collective, but the synthetic one isn't able to do that because he's the Picard bot. There was a little callback with Jack in his quarters, his incredibly dark quarters that look like a freaking cell. Turn a light on, for God's sake! It's so annoying, you can't see anything. You get the door chime and he goes, "Gump," which I thought was... It was a nod, at least. When Jack escapes, Picard goes, Beverly, he's got the worst of me, because I'm Picard, and I am very, 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 very depressed. Yes. Shamefully, it took me a while to recognise Shelby, to Admiral Shelby. It's simply because she'd gotten so old. You know, all of these characters have gotten so old. It took me a while to recognise her. As soon as the name Shelby came up, it just pinged in my mind. Ah, yes, that was Commander Shelby. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was some Latin in there. It was when the Borg Queen was saying, "I've got many names for you, Jack." She said, you know, one of them was Generati. And I just thought, oh, God, that's so close to Gerati. No, not Gerati. I hate Gerati. But I thought it was quite funny. The name she's chosen for Jack is Vox, hence the name of the episode. There was a moment that made me laugh. It was a moment where LaForge was telling Data to be more, you know, let's be a bit more positive. And Data turns to him and says, "Well, hopefully we'll die quickly," which I thought was quite amusing. There were a few moments, don't get me wrong. I didn't hate the episode. I just thought I'm still pessimistic when it comes to New Trek. I still see it with that negativity that season 1 and season 2 generated for me. And I have to be kind of self-reflective here for a moment. In the same way that the nostalgia clouds the experience and clouds your ability to see, you know, what it actually is, does your bitterness and your anger from the previous seasons and what they did also cloud that judgment? It's interesting. This is where like I say, I'm 50-50. I'm on the fence, still on the fence. It's got its good points, but are its good points and good parts only good simply because what came before was so laughingly bad? You're left wondering that, and you don't know where to go with it. I don't know how to feel. This is better than what we had before. This season doesn't feel like Star Trek. As I've said before, Star Trek is gone. The Star Trek we remember is gone. That's now the Orville, and the Orville is done in that style, and that's got its own successes and its own failures as well. But this isn't Star Trek. This season feels like a fan tribute. And I know people are saying, you know, the same people wrote this that wrote the previous 2 seasons. Don't be fooled, Danger Man. But this is also a different showrunner. It's so bizarre. I really don't know what to think of it. It was nice to see the old crew back on the old ship. A lot of contrivances to get there. Overall, the episode was pretty good as a reveal episode, but the story itself I don't think is strong enough. I don't really like that it's the Borg again. We've had so many Borg threats, so many Changeling threats, and I feel it's slightly unoriginal to just mesh them together. Just say, oh, we'll take the biggest bad from the Next Generation and the biggest bad from Deep Space Nine and just, there you go. Although it's more intelligently written than season 2. Yeah, I could write a better season of Star Trek than season 2. But those are my thoughts on the episode. That's my review. And it's a really confusing one. And I apologise if you ended this, if you're watching this and you're confused by my confusion, because I don't actually know how I feel about it. I'm so sort of all over the place with it. There was a bunch of things that I've skipped over and missed, simply because I'd ramble on for ages about all the nostalgia hits you get in the episode. I feel that the idea for a reunion came before the idea for the story, and that I think is where my biggest problem lies. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Also, as previously said, check out the live stream that I did with Clayton Rumley at Clayton Rumley if you want to view his channel, watch his videos. He is an absolute gem to talk to and a gem to watch, so please visit his channel. And if you're interested in something a little different, visit my other channel, which is UK Danger Man Repairs. Please subscribe to that channel as well. That would really help me out. And if you like UK Danger Man reviews, please hit that subscribe button if you are new here, and don't forget to like the video. That's all from me this week. I will be back next week for the finale of Star Trek Picard Season 3. I will also be doing a live stream event with Clayton Rumley where we will review the season as a whole, so I hope you'll join us for that. I will schedule the event. Until the next video, you look after yourselves, you look after each other. It's bye-bye from me. Ta-ta for now. I need the silence, stop the violence of the war in my head. Time
time's the healer, the eraser of all done and said. And as I fall back to my shelter, I know I'll only find peace in your smile.